start off by, to me, not to the camera.
Don't look at the camera?
Well, if you can look at the camera the whole time, that would be cool.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, I guess you're comfortable with that,
Yeah.
aren't you?
I mean, it's not my first rodeo. Like, what do
cool.
Polish people say? Like, it's not my first, what? They don't have rodeos.
No,
What would
I
they,
don't think so.
like, it's not my first działka grill or something. I don't know. Really, I mean, I go by Dave Ameryki. That's I guess my stage name. I guess I'm kind of like a stripper, you know? I have a stage name, Dave Ameryki, but it's not that sexy. Well, as a person, I don't know. I just try to be just a regular guy, you know? Just like a cool, like I just try to be myself, you know? And I think that's the truth. That's also true for like who you will see on the internet. I talk about differences between Poland and the US, and I teach English. And I think the main goal of that is just trying to make people not just learn something, but also like smile and laugh. So I try to be funny and sarcastic, but I mean, I am myself, right? And that's always going to be number one for me, is that I'll always, you know, I don't want to censor myself. I'd rather like make someone mad than not be true to myself. So my life before YouTube, I spent most of my adult life doing sales. Like I was a direct salesman. I would go to either businesses or homes and I would sell products. Before that, I mean, I majored in history, so I have a bachelor's degree in history just because I love history. I still love history. During university, I did a lot of customer service jobs that sucked, and then I did sales, which I liked. I had my own business. I was a sales manager, a sales trainer, a sales recruiter, etc. I've even done door-to-door sales.
How did you like your life in America?
How did I like my life in America? Well, I liked it at the time, but then after like moving to Poland, and I've lived in Spain as well, I realized that I didn't like it as much as I thought, right? Like after coming here, I thought, yeah, this is a lot cooler. Like, I don't know, like, you know, because I was 5 years old when I moved from Poland to the U.S. So like this American dream. My parents are Polish, so this American dream was always like very real for us, right? Because we left during communism. We left in the 80s where things were like real bad. And that's how I knew Poland, from my parents and all their Polish friends in America. Was like, when I thought of Poland, I thought of that Russian song where it's like, da, na, 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 and everyone's like hitting a rock with a hammer or something. That's how I pictured Poland. And obviously it's changed a lot. And I came here just for a couple months, and I thought, wow, I'd like to stay. And I didn't realize how much I didn't like the idea of like the way the cities are built in the US, how you can't walk anywhere, everything's far away. And then on top of that, nobody has time because everyone's like working their life away. One thing, I didn't realize how big of a difference it is here and in Europe, that like people value their life before their job. And I think in the US, that's not the case. Like your life is your job. So being an immigrant as a child in the U.S., I think a lot of people when they talk to me, and especially in English or even in Polish, because I have an American accent when I speak Polish, so sometimes they forget about the fact that I, even now, am technically an immigrant in the U.S. I wasn't born there. So I think that was definitely, you know, tough. Right? Like not really, and maybe I didn't realize it until much later that it was tough. Growing up, you at some point you realize that your life indoors, your life at home is totally different than the life of other people. And it wasn't until I was an adult that I just kept learning more and more about how Polish I was at home, right? Because I'm like, oh wait, you guys don't do that? Like, you guys don't eat meat in gelatin? Like, oh, okay, no, oh, yeah, it's just us because we're weirdos, because we're Polish, so we're eating meat and gelatin. Yeah, I mean, that's just one example. But I always wanted to fit in. I always wanted to be like an American boy, just like I'm like, hey guys, let's play football and eat hamburgers or whatever, you know. But at home, like, I just got yelled at in Polish and told to clean my room, and then we ate like kotlety and surówka and potatoes every day. And I think a lot of people in Poland for some reason think that like you just leave Poland and then you're like, oh, I'm not Polish anymore and now we're gonna be American. That's not the case. Like we were super Polish for the first 10 years and then we just slowly became a little bit more American.
Tell me how you came from wanting to be, a typical American boy playing football and stuff like that to a big famous YouTuber. That's unusual.
So the question is how did I go from this Polish immigrant kid wanting to be a American boy to becoming, in your words, a big famous YouTuber? I'm not a big famous YouTuber, but thank you for that. Yeah, half these people are watching this. Like I've never even heard of this guy. How did that happen? Yeah, I don't know. Well, let me start with the whole wanting to be American. I think when we're young, we want to fit in, right? We want to be just like all the other kids. And it wasn't until I was an adult and I actually moved away. I moved out of my parents' house when I was 19, and I quickly realized like how much I actually missed the Polishness. I miss speaking Polish. I didn't have any Polish friends. I just spoke Polish with my parents, and then all of their friends, they're all Polish, so I would speak Polish often. But I never had anyone my age that I spoke Polish to. And Polish to me was always like the language of old people, right? Like I couldn't imagine like young people being like, hey, we're cool young Polish people with slang. Like that's just not, it didn't exist in my mind. It was just like middle-aged people spoke Polish. But once I moved out, I was like, oh man, like I miss it. And I really appreciated that culture. And I actually saw how other Americans lived, thought, how they ate, how they spoke to each other. And I learned a lot of things about like American culture and Americans that I then took and incorporated in my own life that were positive, that were good. But then at the same time, I also saw what was missing, in my opinion, that I really liked in Polish culture. But how did I start YouTube? It was my ex-girlfriend. I moved to Poland, and we'd always talk about these things. And it was usually me complaining about Polish people, about how like nobody smiles, or how like everyone in Biedronka is like the meanest person in the world, or like just that like there's just not the same level of public communication. And so it wasn't just that, but it was, but at the same time, talking about how there's certain things in Poland that I think are way better. And she would always say, oh, you should write a book, you should do that. And I was like, no one's gonna read a book, come on. But then eventually, I found out that YouTubers exist. I didn't know that was a thing. So the first two the YouTubers who influenced me the most was Kasia Michinski from 50 na pół and Ryan Socash. I mean, I remember seeing Ryan's stuff. I'm assuming this is on his channel right now, right?
Probably, yeah.
So you should subscribe to the channel. But like, I remember seeing Ryan's stuff and being like, whoa, what the hell? I'm like, there's some American dude, and he even knows that Poland exists, and he's making like professional videos about it. I'm like, damn. I'm like, I can never be like as good as this guy, but it influenced me, and I'm like, wow, people are watching this, and it's in English. But I wanted to make my content in Polish because I wanted to show like Polish people what is very Polish. Like Polish people don't know how Polish they are. They just live their lives, and then they're like, hey, this is what everybody does. I'm pretty sure everybody eats cabbage every day, right? No, nobody does that in America, right? So there's a lot of things that Polish people do that they don't realize are really Polish. But me growing up with these two cultures, I was like, oh my God, that is very Polish. And that's why my book is called To jest bardzo polskie.
I want to ask some spicy questions, if I may.
Yeah.
And you set people up for this, so these questions are your own fault. But at your live performance, you mentioned the differences in intimacy.
Yeah.
You use different words. Between Polish women and American women.
Yeah.
Tell me, what is the difference between Polish and American girls?
I mean, I think Poland has changed a lot, obviously, but I think that still Polish girls are probably more like traditionally feminine, right? I think Polish girls expect certain things out of you. Like you have to open a door for a girl in Poland. Like if you don't open a door for a Polish girl, Like, that's it. Like, she like probably won't talk to you and again. In fact, I'm pretty sure you could be arrested for that. I think it's illegal in Poland to not open the door for a girl, even if you don't know the girl. That's a low airplane. Is that
to New York?
Yeah.
Dreamliner.
And the other thing too is that like Polish girls won't even say thank you. They just expect it that much. Like it could be like a stranger and you'll open the door and be like, "Oh, proszę," and then they're just like, "Yes, I'm entitled to this because I'm a woman," right? That's how it is in Poland, okay? But in the U.S., it's like you kind of open the doors for like anyone if you want. You don't have to, but you open the door and you're like, "Oh, here you go." And people are like, "Oh, thank you." I think also my sister is convinced that Polish girls are less funny. I don't know if that's true. Maybe that has to do with being less feminine. I don't know. I'll probably get in trouble in the comments here. That's all right. You just tell me how much you hate me in the comments. Yes, I thrive on your hate. Give me the hate. And I think there might be some truth to that. I guess traditional feminine values, right? Like you probably wouldn't want to be, you're probably not funny, right? That's like maybe like a guy's thing, right? By the way, I'm not saying like women can't be funny or shouldn't be funny. I like to be funny, so if I'm with a girl, I like for her to be funny. But I think I will say this though, when I started dating a Polish girl, there were a lot of things that were different. There were different expectations out of me as a man. Like I was expected to be a man. Like growing up in the US, it was kind of like, yeah, we're equal and like we're the same. That's kind of how I think a lot of Americans interpret it. Because I remember taking some feminist or some gender studies class in university. And I remember hearing from the teacher that like real feminism is acknowledging that men and women are different, but that doesn't mean that we're better or worse. But we are different, and we can provide different things because we think differently and we want different things, right? And I think like Polish feminism is a little more like that, where you can be a strong woman, you can work, you could be a manager, you can do all this other stuff, but at the same time, like you are expected to be feminine, and girls want to be feminine usually. Again, I can't speak for everyone, but my ex-girlfriend did, and she was like, you need to do this, you need to open the door, you need to treat me like a lady. And I was like, what, she can't open her own door? Come on. But what I got out of it was that she then treated me a certain way that I'd never really been treated that way before in the US. And it was kind of like, in this kind of feminine, supportive kind of way. I can't really describe it, but that was one thing, yeah. The other thing, and I don't know if this is what you're talking about, but Ryan brought this up. It's his fault, but it's my theory that like Polish girls are like way less vocal in bed, right? Like I feel like American girls will like, make more noises in bed or like be more vocal, but like in my experience with a lot of Polish girls, I'm like, are they enjoying this? Like, what are they doing? Like, I just imagine they're just like laying there looking at like a crucifix and being like, przepraszam. Okay, no, I'm kidding. I'm just joking. I'm just messing around, right?
Maybe it's another question for the comment section.
Yeah, girls, write in the comments how loud you are in bed. No, I don't know. So apparently Cult America's dead. I don't know. I didn't say that. Ryan said that. He told me to say it, right? I'm just saying what he wants, but apparently it's dead, and I'm the new king, right? Which is not the case. Don't listen to him, right? But if you want to believe that, and you speak Polish and subscribe to Dave's Ameryki, but obviously, you could do like a pity subscribe to like Cult America. It's because I don't know. He's about to go bankrupt over here. I mean, this guy. I don't know what to tell you.